This was the 5th mini stand, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Ah, Movie Maker, Alter. Richtig schön schlechte Qualität, so wie es gehört. Gott, Alter.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
Uff. Aber jetzt wird's mich interessieren. Jetzt habe ich die eine nicht eingesammelt in dem pinken Raum. Das ärgert mich jetzt wieder ein bisschen. Ich hätte es einfach tun sollen.
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
Ja, ich bin in der
And then
Gegenwart.
there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
Ich habe jetzt 11 von 6 Sammelfiguren.
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Ist ja okay, Mister. Also.
Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more.
Der lebt viel zu viel in der Vergangenheit.
And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
Oh nein. Okay.
Yes, I love that video.
Mein Beileid. Was war das?
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room. These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Kann ich jetzt eigentlich darüber laufen? Ne, hier gibt's nichts.
This was our second figly. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going.
Aus guten Gründen.
This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Da war was. Da ist ein Sprungkreis. Da will ich hin. Ich habe wahrscheinlich immer noch keine Sprünge
Look,
übrig.
it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then. But time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories.
Warum?
Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory. This
Ja.
one.
Das hat sich ins Gedächtnis gebrannt.
And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office?
Nein.
There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy, and I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling the story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Stanley.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and the bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley
Sag mir, ich sollte zum Meetingraum gehen.
Detour through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Bei dem Fahrstuhl gibt es wahrscheinlich immer noch nichts Neues. Nein. Sieht nicht so aus. Sehr wichtiger Typ auf jeden Fall.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Ich weiß gar nicht, was ich jetzt überhaupt noch tun soll. Ich habe eigentlich alles erreicht. Ich habe die Figur gefunden.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Machen wir mal hier wieder weiter. Gucken, was passiert.
Rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very
Ja, was passiert, wenn ich jetzt mit dem Eimer den ganzen Spaß hier mal aktiviere?
Stanley decided that this, but at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror.
Oh nein.
Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly birds.
Okay.
The control buttons became active again.
Okay. Fliegender Vogel oder fliegender Vogel? Papagei.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Ja, so stelle ich mir mein Leben vor. Die Vogelbeobachtungsphase.